And we are live. Welcome everybody to our next installment in our live stream here. Today I'm joined by Joel Cruz. Joel, what are you wearing on? What are those?
Oh, this because today's episode is am I blocking the view? Augmented reality, the revolution of it. So I thought I'd have my AR glasses on for today's
Oh, is that what those
episode.
are?
They're not working so well right now. I don't know why, but
Yeah, you might want to hold on a little bit. I know there's a few brands that are coming out with their own brand new augmented reality. I think we're going to talk a little bit about that, specifically Apple. Apple, I know, is looking to get into the space, and there's some big players in it. But I think we need to set a little bit of a ground rule here, and we should talk about what augmented reality is and how it differs from, for example, VR. Because I know VR has taken a lot of market share here recently, for good reason. VR is a really cool technology, but AR is a little bit different. So there's a lot of different facets to it, but we think of it this way. So VR is kind of like you are fully interacting with a virtual world. So you have like goggles or whatever in front of your face. You're using controllers or something to interact with it, and it's just all digital, right? So augmented reality is kind of bringing that digital into reality. So it's augmenting our current reality with digital kind of displays, graphics, all these really cool things. So it's almost like a unlimited field essentially, and it's really taking off. So Joel, I think we have a few different ways that we're going to talk about how augmented reality is going to be changing things. So Joel, why don't you go ahead and kick it off with some of the things that we've been seeing crop up?
Yeah. So I mean, we'll touch on how AR is trending in the in pop culture and just everywhere. And then get into how AR can benefit or how it's progressing, if it is progressing in the pro AV and broadcasting realms. But for now, AR, like you said, it is popping up a lot of places. First subject would be here is like mobile gaming. My kids are the ones that told me about Pokemon Go. So you have these games where you have your phone, no glasses needed, walk around the real environments, and you say you walk down the street to your local park, you'll find Pokemon characters to obtain and capture, and places to go. So it kind of like interacts with the real world, like you said, mixed reality. I find it pretty cool. Like it gets them out and moving about. VR, like you mentioned earlier, it's a total virtual world. So you put on some goggles and you're just kind of stagnant in place, stationary. But augmented reality, interacts with the real world. This one gets you up and exercising. With the Pokemon Go that we just talked about, NBA. The makers are actually getting into a game called NBA All World again. My son told me about it, so he's getting into basketball right now. And same concept. You walk to certain places, and instead of Pokemon, you're obtaining basketball players. And then from
that's interesting.
You build your roster. It's pretty cool. You can you compete with 3-point contests. It's kind of, and I was reading up about it. They have like hundreds of thousands of real life courts. Like if it's a local park, from anything like that, or around. They've recreated it in this augmented reality world, and you could totally interact with it, and it's I think it's gonna go places from anything just up from here.
Yeah, I mean, like one of the really cool things about augmented reality, I mean, like almost everybody has a phone sitting in their pocket, right? So, you don't necessarily need glasses or goggles or something like crazy in order to implement AR into your daily life, right? So, what a lot of people are doing is they're creating apps, creating whatever they can and this is really big in like sports, right? So like, for example, when I went to a Dallas Cowboys game at the Cowboy Stadium, they had kind of not really booths, but they had essentially like a little poster that was up um, just in the middle of the walkway, and you could take your phone out, you could scan it with your camera, and then it basically had you like posing there with an actual player, right?
Oh,
Get like a
uh-huh.
picture and stuff like that. So it really opens up a lot of avenues for different venues to increase like interactivity with your audience, right? So it's not limited to sports. It's not limited to like just games. Like, granted, games are a great way to do it. I know a lot of movie theaters have started doing like, oh hey, pull out your phone and like scan this while you're waiting for the movie to start, and then you can play games and earn points and whatever at the movie theater, which is kind of cool. But it doesn't always have to be like that, right? Like, you can get really cool pictures. You can have it so it's like maybe a an interactive history thing. Like, I know some museums have started doing that, so it's kind of like an endless possibility. It's really cool.
Keeping with
What were you gonna say?
keeping with the sports realm that you're talking about at the game. The like say the Carolina Panthers actually did something. I think it was 2020, a few years ago, 2021. It was an opening game. They worked with Unreal Engine to create like a giant panther. So what they did was um, they created a scale model of the stadium, and then of obviously the panther, and they would track it with virtual cameras with the to coincide with the live camera feed of the actual game.
Yeah. I actually
So,
speaking of, let me go ahead and share the screen real quick, because surprisingly enough, I actually had this pulled up. So
oh,
I'll go ahead and pull this up on YouTube just so that people can see
there
like
you
what we're
go.
talking about.
Hmm.
This specifically was really cool. I
There
remember
you
when they
go.
did this at the
Yeah.
game, and it was nuts. Like, this is some really cool stuff that
Uh-huh.
you can increase the audience engagement or like introduce some really cool things into your broadcasts, right? So I mean, this is using Unreal Engine, which if you're not really aware of what Unreal Engine is, it's a it's an engine specifically designed for creating video games, right?
Hmm.
But I was actually talking with a friend a little bit the other day. You're actually seeing Unreal Engine crop up a whole lot more in productions, and I think augmented reality is going to be one of those things. If I remember correctly, I think he was saying something about like one of the new Mandalorian episodes was using some Unreal Engine stuff. Pretty
Oh,
cool, but that's a topic for another day. So
uh-huh.
we'll continue on with the augmented reality. I don't want to get us too into the weeds here.
Another big thing is, we're talking about the, like these NFL games. What's really big is Nickelodeon, and my kids gravitate to it. So they, all of these things is kind of to introduce like the younger fans to the sport. But so Wild Card Weekend, every year, Wild Card Weekend is like the first week of the NFL playoffs. Nickelodeon does a broadcast where they implement AR into the live programming. So, for instance, somebody scores a touchdown, they'll have all the slime come in and sliming the players in the field. They interact with the fans. You capture fan close-ups of fans, throughout the game, and they'll throw they'll throw images and graphics on them. So I think this is just a really fun way to interact with new audiences. Just last week, we have Disney Plus at home, and my kids, they watch an animated series called Big City Greens, and it was the first time ever that ESPN did a full animated NHL game. So this was between the Capitals and the Rangers, and what they did was it's not really AR, but they used the puck tracking and motion graphics to follow the players, and everything was
Mhm.
themed with the Big City Greens theme. So all the characters, the hockey players were like the cartoons characters. Even the announcers in the booth, you know, they were animated and talking, and it just followed. You know, I mean, you could watch the game on you know, ESPN, you know, the real broadcast, but then they also had the secondary broadcast again, just to kind of grow the audience. So I mean, these cool, you know, ingenious kind of effects, just to kind of, you know, get more people interested in your product. It's a, you know, I think is a good idea.
Yeah, and I went ahead and actually pulled up some of that Nickelodeon stuff you were talking about, and
Okay.
you know, it's not like this isn't from the draft, but I mean, this is some of the cool stuff
Yeah.
doing from like Nickelodeon showing off the NFL
Kids, and then
you know.
the broadcasters obviously are different broadcasters. They have they kind of joke around more, you know, like catering to the younger audience. But yeah, it's just, you know, with all these AR effects, it just adds you know, a different type of appeal to it, and a little fun entertainment. There you go. Yep.
Yeah, I mean it's very very interesting how it is affecting a lot of the broadcasting world. Granted, and we'll continue talking about broadcasting specifically and AV, but there's a lot more besides just those two fields, right? So like actually one of the one of the most interesting things that I saw regarding you know, augmented reality is just how it's affecting like not necessarily day-to-day life, but things that are very very important in life, right? So one of the articles that I actually found, and it's actually insane, just a little insane, is there's a doctor in Detroit, I believe, that is actually using specific augmented reality goggles or glasses, essentially, in order to perform knee surgeries, right? So this is
Wow.
just an article from, I think it's CNN, or no, sorry, CBS. And basically, what it's doing is it's allowing him to see, like on the screen here, like in that video, you can see these uh, degrees or different measurements.
Hmm.
And so the reason that why that's important is because I guess when they're doing knee replacements or whatever, there are specific measurements that have to take place, and it has to be precise. And so when instead of having it be like something where he has to
Wow.
like measure it out himself or whatever, it's literally projected onto the knee when he's doing the surgery.
Wow.
Which, like, yeah, that's crazy for you know, making these surgeries something that's very not necessarily easy, but making it more convenient so he can focus on other things, right?
Hmm.
But also on top of that, what other kind of effects is that going to have on other industries, right? So you got to think like if you can look at something and know exactly what the pitch is or the something is, like that has huge implications for like cameras, right? Because like
Yeah,
you don't need a
they.
leveler anymore because you can just see it, right?
Uh-huh. I was reading that they're actually Cadillac. They have an all electric car called the Lyric coming out soon, and they're thinking of implementing an AI head up display in cars. So kind of similar to the you know, the doctor seeing everything in their line of sight. So head up displays are just that. It kind of projects um, an image into the line of sight of the driver. So it's not, you know, on the dash or on the gauge. They don't have to look down. They're just looking straight where they're driving.
Mhm.
And yeah, they're thinking they're trying to implement an AR display. You know, I guess to you know, show distances of you know, object speeds, whatnot. So I thought that was you know, very interesting. I also
Yeah,
reading about like ski goggles. You know, same type. You know, with the car, maybe seeing speeds and distances. This one you would have to wear the goggles though, but I mean, I think it'll work because, you know, you're skiing anyway, so you put on the you know, the ski AI AR goggles, and then you'll put your actual ski goggles on top of that. So
yeah,
yeah, so I mean, you know, you know, it sounds like it'll work just, you know, seamlessly.
Yeah, I mean
Because you always, with these AR things, you're kind of worried about does it affect what you're paying attention to? Like, when I heard about the lyric, the driving, you're gonna have AR stuff blasted on your wind, in front of you where you're driving. Are you gonna get distracted by that? So I guess that's the only kind of downside that I could think, you would think of. But I mean, if they can, I think with the lyric, it's not, it's kind of off to the top or the side, so it's not very intrusive. But if they can, if they can improve, implement it like that, where it's not so intrusive to, the road. Paying attention to what you're doing, then
yeah,
hey,
it's kind of similar to like I think it's the F-22 or F-35, like the fighter jets. Their helmets, they actually have like a specific heads-up display, and it's essentially augmented reality, right? So when they're looking around the cockpit, like it obviously they can see readouts of like speed and whatnot, but also if they look down, instead of seeing like the bottom of the cockpit, they can actually see like what's underneath the plane. So they can essentially look through the cockpit to see what's underneath or to the sides. So I think that kind of stuff is probably what you're going to see more with cars is just being able to have more information easily available to you, but like not get in your way, right? So that's definitely an interesting thing. Let's see. I think that just about does it for just the generalized stuff. So let's go ahead and get a little bit into more the AV world and a little bit of broadcasting. So I think augmented reality is going to be huge for the broadcasting and AV world. I know we've kind of seen it a little bit. Joel, you've been to more trade shows than I have. How many like insane AR setups have you seen at trade shows?
Yeah, it seems like that's the big thing trending. I think the last episode that we had, we were mentioning it that the exhibit right next to us had some type of a setup like that. They had these huge crane cameras, coming in, and then they were kind of like on a virtual set, but then they walked around and they just interacted, with their surroundings, and it was cool. You could go on, and test it out if you wanted to. But it really is popping up everywhere. I mean, especially with 4K, 8K, tech, coming out. Even what is it? Not 8K, it's 16K. We saw these massive, Sony video walls, and it looked like you were actually in. These weren't AR, but I mean, it could have been. I mean, it looked like you're just walking amongst the trees and the woods. It's just amazing. Oh, is it on? Oh, Matt, I think we got a.
Oh, sorry. I totally forgot. I muted myself. My bad. Sorry, I just didn't think you guys wanted to hear me drinking some water. First of all, that reminded me, we do have a question. Trayvon asks, how do we think AR can benefit our specific line of work? So for me specifically, like I said, I think one thing is just general ease of use. So like being able to know if your camera is leveled just at a quick glance. You don't have to do crazy things with that. But one of the biggest things is just how it's going to affect the ability to translate information to the viewer. So when it comes to being able to input things that are basically graphics almost that are there for the viewer to be able to interact with and get more information on products, like specifically if we're doing a product video and you can add something along the lines that they can interact with in the video, I think that would be a great thing. What about you, Joel? Do you think there's anything that you could think of that AR could benefit you?
For not just like broadcasting, in the pro AV world, right now a lot of advertising is done through, digital signage, on video walls. You project uh, information, what you want not to the masses, to your audience, to, customers. But I think with, AR, it might be interesting. In Meta, I was reading, Meta, they're trying to implement this actually into advertising, where, you walk into a store, you walk around and you'll start seeing maybe descriptions of the product that you're looking at. It'll pop up. Um, so I think that would be, pretty cool. I don't know how people, it might be too, you get pop-up ads. It's going to be like mobile pop-up ads now. I don't know if it's going to go, that direction. I mean, it could, where you go into a mall or something, and then, you start seeing advertisements, whatnot. But like from the concept of, if you're looking at some electronics or something, and then, you have all the instead of going online or something, that store will have preset information, specs, prices, whatnot. That seems very interesting.
Yeah. Anyways, just to reel it all back before I got on this tangent with me forgetting that I was muted and answering the question, you mentioned some of the really cool things that we've seen at trade shows. You mentioned a crane and some other cool stuff. I remember specifically going to NAB, and it was the first NAB that I had gone to. Like when you walk in, there was a big display, and there was like a fake motorcycle. And by the way, we're going to NAB again, so you should, see us there.
It's kind of like Tron. It looked like
a
Tron.
There was like a fake Tron motorcycle. And,
yeah.
Essentially, there was big giant screen behind it. I wish I could find the video of it. I can't, unfortunately. I didn't get a video of it. But you could hop on this motorcycle, and there was a crane arm with a cinema camera on it.
Mm-hmm.
And what they were doing is they had a digital background on that screen, and the crane arm would go around you while you were on the motorcycle, saying, lean right or lean left, and it would do the moves with you, and it would basically come out looking like a real car chase. But instead, it was all done fake while you were stationary, and it was just this augmented reality background. It was really cool.
They had I remember they had a big fan. They had a big fan too for the, so it looked like, when you're traveling really fast. Like, man, they went like the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, and there is to kind of go more on that thought process. Obviously, there are companies that are starting to really focus in on this, especially broadcasting wise. And there's huge implications for this, like absolutely huge. So, like here's one company that I found, right? And so they're kind of showing off some of the stuff that it can do here, like right. So like if you have a like a weather and you're just showing off like everything, and you have the ability to zoom out, show the weather in different regions. But it's not even just that, right? So like there's this really cool video here where essentially, oh dang it, I can't go full screen with it. Let me go ahead and mute that. But they have these cool 3D graphics in this live venue, and it's not really like a graphic that's being projected or rendered through the screen. It's actually like graphics that are like in person. If you were there, you would see. And they're doing it through, I think, just lighting. So really cool different things that you can do with it. And then on top of that, there was also a show on Fox that was essentially taking these singers, right, and turning them into avatars.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I did. I haven't seen it, but I do remember seeing.
There's tons of different. There's tons of different implications for this technology. and it's really cool. I know there's one other thing that I'll probably bring up a little bit later, but there's a organization that's really more focused around gaming, but they've kind of really embraced a lot of this augmented reality stuff, and they've started doing a lot of their any sort of like press release or anything like that at the studio, and the studio is an entire area, so they can do a lot of really cool things with it.
I wonder where it can go for like education. I know like some museums, they try to implement it, but like AR, I don't know how, because the thing is like some, you have to wear glasses for some of the applications, and not so many people are what is it, like willing to do that. They had 3D home 3D entertainment before. You wear the glasses, but that didn't really take off. So I mean, like, yeah, if you're walking around a museum and I mean, if you do have the glasses, it's cool. You can you learn about like the dinosaurs or history, past things, and you can really engage with the student that way. But I mean, if there's ways, I know there's a teacher that he said he implements AR like for the past 4 or 5 years in his classrooms, but it's not through glasses. It's through like an iPad that he projects on the large screen for his students. So for like those type of situations would work, but because like with like I was talking earlier with digital signage for advertising, you're trying to reach like a mass amount of people, like a lot of people, and with AR, if they have to wear glasses or something like that, people might not be willing to go that route. So it'll be interesting to see how they advance like the different applications and ways to view, enjoy AR.
Yeah, I think it's going to become more common. Like, obviously, there is a little bit of a barrier to entry because you have to have some sort of technology to interact with it somehow. Not always. Like I showed with that broadcast, and I think it was Indonesia. They have these things being projected in the real space, but I think specifically for education, we are trending towards that because a lot of different schools, other things they're essentially moving to be more digitalized, right? So it's not uncommon to see schools and school districts issuing laptops, not necessarily always iPads, but laptops and tablets to their students. So I think the more that you see that kind of stuff catching on, and the more that this technology becomes more prevalent, the less the barrier for entry is going to be. We see it year after year. Technology that used to be unobtainable for most people, as far as price is concerned, becomes a lot more obtainable in terms of price. So I think it's definitely something to keep your eye on, and something that's really has a lot of implications for the space. Because, like we said, there's a lot of different ways that you can approach AR, and it does a whole lot of different things, and it's only going to get more prevalent. So, anything else you had to say about this, Joel?
I believe that is all. I mean, we have touched on so many like cool aspects. I think Apple. I think Apple's trying to come out with their own.
Is trying to get in the space. So
Right.
let's see. Let me actually bring up this article real quick. It's all rumors at this point. Nothing entirely set in stone, but it's always fun to speculate a little bit, right? So here we go. Here's the article. This is everything that we apparently know so far. So really, what we know is Apple apparently has a secret team of tons of employees that are working on virtual and augmented reality projects. Supposedly, it'll have AR and VR capabilities, 4K micro OLED display, eye and gesture tracking. Now, something that's really cool about this is eye tracking is actually a thing. There are some things, technologies that take advantage of this, and Sony with their PlayStation VR 2 actually released a little bit of eye tracking, and so something that they're doing with that technology is with VR. So if you're kind of familiar with VR, it's very graphically intensive, right? So there's a lot of stuff that the graphics card and the processor have to render, but they're using this technology to basically figure out where your eye's looking. So that way, that can be where the focus is and where they devote all of the power on rendering, and everything else around it kind of is lowered in quality, but you don't notice it because your eye is focused on something else.
Yeah.
Right. So it's really cool technology. So hopefully, if Apple is actually getting into the space with augmented reality and VR, that's one of those things where we kind of talked about here just a few minutes ago. The more this technology is proliferated, and especially if a company like Apple gets into this space, the more available it's going to be. So we have another question from Jamie Jam. Will BZBGEAR get into the AR space? Imagine being able to show your products via AR for broadcasts and AV environments. It will make it easy for clients to see your products in their application. I can't speak to whether or not we will get into the AR space. However, I would assume, and this is a big assumption, obviously,
Make a note of that.
that if as things trend on, we will have more incentive to get into the space. I 100% agree. Like I said, kind of alluding back to the other question that we got from Trayvon on how it can benefit our specific line of work. Imagine if we essentially made a product video, right, that people could view on their computer or wherever, or maybe at the trade show at NAB, and we have it running on the background that we have. And there's just like a little, I don't know, QR code, something along those lines that they can scan with their phone camera, right? And it brings up like a 3D model, and they can interact with it and kind of see how it works, have different specs on it. That kind of stuff is where I think it has really big implications. So I think it's something that could definitely be looked at, but I don't want to give a false answer here, right? So I think as the industry continues to trend towards acceptance of AR, you're going to see a lot more of that kind of stuff.
We do have some great 8K products available. So if you check out BZBGEAR, you can check out the latest 8K solutions.
Plenty of 8K products, that is true. But I think we could honestly dive into this topic for a very long time. It's already been a half hour, so I keep everybody too long. But before we go, I do want to ask, does anybody else have any other questions? I would love to take a stab at somebody else's question. Like I said, it's a fun topic for me. I love the AR and VR space, and especially a lot of the stuff that it's doing in the industry. I think it's really cool. I don't know if you're familiar with League of Legends, Joel, but League of Legends has done some of this stuff. So just for a quick, overview of what it is. It's essentially a video game, right? But surprisingly enough, it gets more viewership on their World Finals than I believe like the NFL, like the Super Bowl and the NBA Finals and the MLB Finals like combined. It's actually insane how many viewers this stuff gets.
Yeah, like I mean, just the esports, like in general, you know, it's kind of blown up, and you know, I'm just waiting for that, dreading that day where my son goes, "Hey, Dad, can I? You know, I'm playing video games already. Can I just play professionally?" And you know, I know with the esports world, I mean, this is like a small, you know, percentage that go, you know, that really are top of their game. So, you know, like I wish I could have said that, you know, my dad back in the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, esports right now, it's a big business.
Yeah, I mean, it's been joked about that Riot, the company that does League of Legends, is more of a music company than they are a video game company, because they do a whole lot of this like live action music, and they produce a lot of music for their game. But like here, this is like the opening ceremony for their World Finals.
Man, it looks like
and they're
the
doing
Super
this.
Bowl. That looks like the
Yeah,
Super Bowl
it's crazy,
halftime.
right? But then they have like this augmented reality
Oh
dragon that
wow,
just shows up, right? It's pretty sick.
huh?
So it just has really, really cool implications for the broadcasting world. And again, I'm going to be more broadcasting focused, because it's the stuff
Oh.
that I did school for. So, but even if it's not necessarily broadcasting, like even if you're just a church, right, and you are a house of worship, and you're looking at how can augmented reality benefit us, there's ways, right? So like you could essentially have teaching tools in like a sermon, for example, that somebody who is using, like, had their phone out could go ahead and kind of bring it up, and they have like an augmented reality service, right? So there's a lot of different ways that you can tackle this. But outside of a is Matt single question here, which currently I am, we doesn't appear that we have any other questions related to
Matt
augmented
Richards. His name's Matt
reality. But so I think we'll just cut it off there, because like I said, I can talk about this for a long, long time. Joel, it was a pleasure. Really appreciate you coming on and helping me talk about this topic. And I really hope those augmented glasses are doing you justice.
Yeah, I'll be working with these today. Help me help my production, I think.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for tuning in, and thanks for dropping some questions. And we'll see you guys on the next episode.